Hi friends, welcome to Ruksanaa's Audiobook Library. This is the third part of the second book, The Night at Dawn of Magic TreeHouse, written by Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 7, A Secret Passage. Annie and Jack raced back up the winding stairs and down the long hallway. They hadn't gone far when they heard shouting behind them. Dogs barked in the distance.
"They're coming!" Annie cried.
"In here," said Jack. He shoved open a door off the hallway and pulled Annie into a dark room. Jack pushed the door shut. Then Annie shined a flashlight around the room. There were rows of sacks and wooden barrels. "I'd better look in the book," said Jack. "Give it to me."
And
Annie gave him the flashlight and his backpack. He pulled out the book and started tearing through it.
"Shh," said Annie. "Someone's coming."
Jack and Annie jumped behind the door as it creaked open. Jack held his breath. A light from a torch danced wildly over the sacks and barrels. The light disappeared. The door slammed shut. "Oh man," whispered Jack. "We have to hurry. They might come back." His hands were trembling as he flipped through the pages of the castle book. "Here's a map of the castle," he said. "Look, this must be the room we are in. It's a storeroom." Jack studied the room in the book. "These are sacks of flour and barrels of wine."
"Who cares? We have to go," said Annie, "before they come back."
"No, look," said Jack. He pointed at the map. "Here's a trapdoor." He read aloud. "This door leads from the storeroom through a secret passage to a precipice over the moat." "What's a precipice?"
"What's a precipice?" said Annie.
"I don't know. We'll find out," said Jack. "But first, we have to find the door." Jack looked at the picture carefully. Then he shined the flashlight around the room. The floor of the room was made up of stones. The trapdoor in the picture was 5 stones away from the door to the hall. Jack shined the light on the floor and counted the stones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He stamped on the 5th stone. It was loose. He put the flashlight on the floor. He worked his fingers under a thin sheet of stone and tried to lift it. "Help," Jack said. Annie came over and helped him lift the stone square out of its place. Underneath was a small wooden door.
Jack and Annie tugged on the rope handle of the door. The door fell up with a trunk. Jack picked up the flashlight and stamped it in the hole.
"There's a little ladder," he said. "Let's go." He clipped on the flashlight and felt his way down the small ladder. Annie followed. When they both reached the bottom of the ladder, Jack shined the light around them. There was a tunnel. He crouched down and began moving through the damp, creepy tunnel. The flashlight barely hit the stone walls. He shook the light. Were the batteries running down? "I think our light's dying," he said to Annie.
"Hurry!" she called from behind.
Jack went faster. His back hurt from crouching. The light got dimmer and dimmer. He was desperate to get out of the castle before the batteries died completely. Soon he reached another small wooden door, the door at the end of the tunnel. Jack unlatched the door and pushed it open. He poked his head outside. He couldn't see anything in the misty darkness. The air felt good, cool and fresh. He took a deep breath.
"Where are we?" whispered Annie behind him. "What do you see?"
"Nothing, but I think we've come to the outside of the castle," said Jack. "I'll find out." Jack put the flashlight in his pack. He put the pack on his back. He stuck his head out the door. He couldn't feel the ground. just air. I'm going to have to go feet first, he said. Jack turned around in the small tunnel. He lay down on his stomach. He stuck one leg out the door, then the other. Jack inched down bit by bit until he was hanging out the door, clinging to the ledge. This must be the precipice, he called to Annie. Pull me up.
And reached for Jack's hand. I can't hold you, she said. Jack felt his fingers slipping. Then down he fell, down through the darkness. Splash!
Chapter 8. The Night. Water filled Jack's nose and covered his head. His glasses fell off. He grabbed them just in time. He coughed and flailed his arms.
Jack! Annie was calling from above.
I'm in the moat, said Jack, gasping for air. He tried to tread water and put his glasses back on. With his backpack, his shoes, and his heavy clothes, he could hardly stay afloat. Splash!
Hi, I'm here, Annie sputtered.
Jack could hear her nearby, but he couldn't see her.
Which way's land? Annie asked.
I don't know, just swim. Jack dog paddled through the cold black water. He heard Annie swimming too. At first it seemed as if she was swimming in front of him, but then he heard a splash behind him. Annie, he called.
What? Her voice came from in front, not behind. Another splash. Behind.
Jack's heart almost stopped. Crocodiles! He couldn't see anything through this water-streaked glasses. Annie, he whispered.
What?
Swim faster.
But I'm here. I'm over here. Near the edge, she whispered.
Jack swam through the dark towards her voice. He imagined a crocodile slithering after him. Another splash, not far away. Jack's hand touched a wet, live thing. Ah, he cried.
It's me! Take my hand, said Annie.
Jack grabbed her hand. She pulled him to the edge of the moat. They crawled over an embankment onto the wet grass. Safe. Another splash came from the moat waters. Oh man, Jack said. He was shivering all over. His teeth were chattering. He shook the water off his glasses and put them back on. It was so misty he couldn't see the castle. He couldn't even see the moat, much less a crocodile.
We made it, said Annie. Here. Her teeth were chattering too.
I know, said Jack, but where are we? He peered at the foggy darkness. Where was the drawbridge, the windmill, the hawk house, the grove of trees, the treehouse? Everything had been swallowed up by the thick, soupy darkness. Jack reached into his wet backpack and pulled out the flashlight. He pushed the switch, no more light. They were trapped, not in a dungeon, but in the still, cold darkness. Nee! A horse is whining. Just then, the clouds parted. A full moon was shining in the dark, in the sky. A pool of light spread through the mist. Then Jack and Annie saw him just a few feet away. The knight! He sat on the black horse. His armor shone in the moonlight. A visor hid his face, but he seemed to be staring straight at Jack and Annie. Chapter 9. Under the Moon. Jack froze.
It's him, Annie whispered.
The knight held out his gloved hand.
Come on, Jack, Annie said.
Where are you going? Said Jack.
He wants to help us, said Annie.
How do you know?
I can just tell, said Annie.
Annie stepped towards the horse. The knight dismounted. The knight picked Annie up and put her on the back of his horse.
Come on, Jack, she called.
Jack moved slowly towards the knight. It was like a dream. The knight picked up too. He placed Jack on the horse behind Annie. The knight got on behind them. He slapped the reins. The black horse cantered beside the moonlit water of the moat. Jack rocked back and forth in his saddle. The wind blew his hair. He felt very brave and very powerful. He felt as if he could ride forever on his horse. With this mysterious night over the ocean, over the world, over the moon. A hawk shrieked in the darkness.
There's the tree house, said Annie. She pointed towards a grove of trees.
The knight steered the horse toward the trees.
See, there is it, Annie said, pointing to the ladder.
The knight brought his horse to a stop. He dismounted and helped Annie down.
Thank you, sir, said Anne. She said.
And she bowed. Then Jack, thank you, he said, and he bowed also. The knight got back on his horse. He raised his gloved hand, then he slapped the reins and rode off through the mist. Annie started up the tall ladder and Jack followed. They climbed into the dark tree house and looked out the window. The knight was riding toward the outer wall. They saw him go through the outer gate. Clouds started to cover the moon again. For a brief moment, Jack thought he saw the knight's armor gleaming on the top of a hill beyond the castle. The clouds covered the moon completely, and a black mist swallowed the land.
He's gone, whispered Annie.
Jack shivered in his wet clothes as he kept staring at the blackness.
I'm cold, said Annie. Where's the Pennsylvania book?
Jack heard Annie fumble in the darkness. He kept looking out the window.
I think this it is. I think this is it, said Annie. I feel a silk bookmark.
Jack was only half listening. He was hoping to see the knight's armor gleam again in the distance.
Okay, I'm going to use this, said Annie, because I think it's the right one.
Here goes. Okay, I'm pointing. I'm going to wish.
ये मेरी है. Because I think it's the right one. Here goes. Okay, I'm pointing. I'm going to wish. I wish we could go to Frog Creek. Jack heard the wind to blow softly at first. I hope I pointed the right picture in the right book, said Annie.
What? Jack looked back at her. Right picture? Right book? The treehouse began to rock. The wind got louder and louder.
I hope it wasn't the dinosaur book, said Annie.
Stop! Jack shouted at the treehouse. Too late. The treehouse started to spin. It was spinning and spinning. The wind was screaming. Then suddenly there was silence. Absolute silence.
Chapter 10. One mystery solved. The air was warm. It was dawn. Far away, a dog barked. I think that's Henry barking, Annie said. We did it! We did! Come home!
They both looked out the treehouse window. That was close, said Jack. In the distance, streetlights lit their street. There was a light on in their upstairs window.
Oh no, said Annie. Oh ho, said Annie. I think Mom and Dad are up. Hurry!
Wait! In a daze, Jack unzipped his backpack. He pulled out the castle book. It was quite wet, but Jack placed it back with the all other books.
Come on, hurry, said Annie, scooting out the treehouse.
Jack followed her down the ladder. They reached the ground and took off between the grey-black trees. They left the woods and ran down their deserted street. They got to the yard and crept across the lawn, right up to the back door. Jack and Annie slipped inside the house.
They're not downstairs yet, whispered Annie.
Shh, said Jack. He led the way up the stairs and down the hall. No sign of his mom or dad, but he could hear water running in the bathroom. Their house was so different from the dark, cold castle. So safe, and cozy and friendly. Annie stopped at a bedroom door. She gave Jack a smile, then disappeared inside her room. Jack hurried into his room. He took off his damp clothes and pulled on his dry, soft pajamas. He sat down on his bed and unzipped his backpack. He took out his wet notebook. He felt around for the pencil, but his hand touched something else. Jack pulled the blue leather bookmark out of his bag. It must have fallen out of the castle book. Jack held this bookmark close to his lamp and studied it. The leather was smooth and worn. It seemed ancient. For the first time, Jack noticed a letter on the bookmark, a fancy M. Jack opened the drawer next to his bed. He took out the gold medallion. He looked at the letter on it. It was the same M. Now, this was an amazing new fact. Jack took a deep breath. One mystery solved. The person who had dropped the gold medallion in the time of the dinosaur was the same person who owned all the books in the treehouse. Who was this person? Jack placed the bookmark next to the medallion. He closed the drawer. He picked up his pencil. He turned to the least wet page in his notebook and he started to write down this fact. The same. But before he could draw the M, his eyes closed. He dreamed they were with the night again, all three of them riding the black horse through the cool, dark night, beyond the outer wall of the castle and up over a moonlit hill into the mist.
The end.